Good. Dream season for you.
Boy, it's been tremendous. It's been amazing watching the progression of this program over the last 4 years since Coach Ollis took over, and now with Coach Herron, to see the steady progression each year. It's been a fun ride to be part of, that's for sure.
You know, it's interesting. You would think with a change of coaches and a change of systems, because Coach Herron has changed to the option, that maybe the progression you saw under Bruce Ollis might have a short interruption, but it sounds like things have been relatively seamless, if not totally seamless.
Yeah, it really has been, and it's really a matter of Coach Herron coming in and just being the right scheme for what the talent was that was there at TL Hanna. And, you know, with a quarterback like Alex Meredith, somebody who's able to do things with both his legs and his arm, you know, really it's been kind of fascinating. It's a wing tee, but there's been very little option that's been part of it this year. It's been a lot of designed runs, you know, designed rollouts. I would say on the season, less than 10 options have been called all season long. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of those wrinkles as we get deeper in the postseason, because we had a chance to do the coaches show with Coach Herron this week and asked him, how much of the offense do you feel like your team has a grasp of? And he says probably about 60% of what he wants to install here. So it's amazing to watch how this team has progressed as the season goes along, and the potential for even more growth as things go not only this season but into 2018 as well.
Alex Meredith is a junior. I know colleges are giving him a look, Chris, and you mentioned he's good at running the ball. Tell us about his ability to throw.
Boy, it's amazing to watch him throw the ball because of his mechanics. And this is a credit to what Coach Ollis and Coach Burdett, who's now over at JL Mann, were able to do with him ever since he was a freshman. His mechanics are super crisp because, you know, having called high school football, having watched it for a number of years, you see guys who have big arms, you see guys who are athletic, guys who have the total package. But to really see the mechanics of the position and what they do with it, it's what makes Meredith throwing the ball so crisp. Yes, he has a strong arm. Yes, he's athletic. But when you pair it up with his ability to be able to get the right footwork, squaring his shoulders, a guy who's comfortable throwing on the run because of those mechanics, it's really a beautiful thing to watch. And with Hanna, it's truly a story of throwing when they want to, not throwing because they have to.
Chris, so tonight Hanna will get Burns. Burns has suffered some injuries at the wide receiver spot. They're going to be without their best defensive player. Their Shrine Bowl linebacker, KJ Jones, is out. So give us an idea of what your coaches down at Hanna are saying about Burns, because Burns has been a power for many years, they are 7-3.
Of course, and the message has been the same and consistent as it's been all season long, is that every opponent is dangerous. Now, that was a tougher message to put across for a lot of the region schedule, which I know we'll get a chance to talk about some of those other teams that Hanna faced this year, you know, where you had kind of, I mean, let's face it, more laughingstock type games, teams that, you know, simply didn't have the talent to match up. Burns is not one of those teams. That's a team that commands full attention for whoever is across the field from them. And really for Hanna, I think internally the coaches would all tell you the biggest break isn't necessarily the loss of the star defensive player, but it may be those offensive guys. Because if there's one thing this Hanna team really hasn't faced in the 2017 season, it's been a truly dynamic passing attack. So that's not to say that Hanna is weak against the pass. It's just really unproven at this point. Because the defensive line has been so good when teams are forced to throw the ball, we really haven't seen the secondary have to cover that much this year.
All right, Chris, so let's talk about some of the other teams you have seen, because there are a number of teams from our listening area that are going to go up against teams from Anderson County. Spartanburg's going to play at Westside tonight. Spartanburg comes into the game a little bit down in the mouth. They have lost 3 in a row. Westside, under a very good coach, Scott Early, is the number 2 seed out of the same region Hanna plays in. What can you tell us about Westside? Because early this year, when Spartanburg played them, it wasn't close. The Vikings won, I think it was 47-11.
And I think it's not a massive difference as far as the team itself goes. Even in that game, Westside lost their starting quarterback in game 1 this year, and they've gone to a predominantly run-heavy, zone read, speed option type offense. It's a lot of shotgun two-back. Really they're throwing only when they get behind the chains. If they can move the ball on the ground, it's what they try to do. I will say this for the listeners in the area who are Spartanburg fans. You may already know it from the game before, but if you don't, let me tell you this. The best special teams in the state of South Carolina reside at Westside.
Ooh.
Chance Poore has one of the strongest leg I saw all year long. Just an amazing field goal kicker and punter, somebody who's already committed to Kentucky. And then you have dynamic special teams in the return game as well. The only touchdown that Westside scored against Hanna was on a kickoff return for a touchdown. I would argue it is the best special teams in the state of South Carolina.
Good enough to swing a close game then, I would imagine.
And if the game is close, that's definitely one of those factors that can creep up.
How about Westside defensively? Spartanburg has great playmakers, and when they're on their game, and it's been a while because they've been turnover prone, but when they get guys in space, they can really make things happen. I mean, you saw them early this year against your Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, the defense for Westside, undersized but very fast. And one of the, Hanna had some similar problems with that earlier in the season with fumbles. That really became corrected as the year went along, and no turnovers against Westside. Didn't really see as much of the trying to rip the football out that we saw with other teams this season. Don't know if because they're undersized, they're just trying to get the ball carriers down to the ground. But that could be a big advantage for Spartanburg if Westside is unable to put the ball on the ground, Westside's unable to force those fumbles. I think that could be a big advantage for Spartanburg and may not be something they have to worry about for this contest.
All right, another team from our listening area that you have seen their opponent this year, Gaffney is at home tonight against Easley. Gaffney enters red hot. In fact, they've won 3 in a row, averaging about 40 points per game over that stretch. They're going to play Easley tonight. What can you tell Gaffney fans about the Green Wave?
That this is going to be UGLY, you ain't got no alibi. Easley, to say that they struggle would be an understatement. Now, to be fair, the game that I saw, their starting quarterback, Weston Black, was out, and maybe he's back for this contest. I haven't had a chance to look and see. But this is not a dynamic offense. If they're going to win a game, they're going to win it, your 21-17 type of contest. They're incapable of airing the ball out, and they really try to move the ball on the ground as much as they can to not much avail. The night that Hanna had the chance to play them, it was a blowout. I want to say it was 52-0 that Hanna won that contest, just unable to get anything going offensively. And I don't think they even crossed midfield until we got later in the third quarter.
Wow. Okay. Well, that kind of gives us an idea. And then another team that you've seen this year is BHP, Belton Honeypath. They're 8-2. They're at home tonight against 2-8 Union. So obviously BHP is going to be heavily favored. But BHP has been a team, Chris, that year in and year out competes at a very high level. They've won some state titles. They've been runners up several times. Is this a traditional, typical BHP team?
It is a really good BHP team, one that I think could at least make a run to the semifinals there in 4A. One of the best coached teams that I had the chance to watch in 2017. I mean, Coach Blackston does an amazing job there. They're not the most talented team that you're going to find in 4A. A lot of that's going to reside in that Rock Hill area. But, despite any talent deficiencies they have, just how crisp they are on both sides of the ball, very rarely do you find them hurting themselves with penalties or turnovers. They truly make the other team beat them. There's nothing that necessarily stands out as dynamic except for their defensive line, which did a tremendous job this year. One of the best jobs I've seen of any team containing Hanna's rushing attack this year. But they're so disciplined, they're so sound, very few penalties, very few turnovers. Any team that beats BHP this year is going to earn the victory.
Chris White joining us. His TL Hanna Yellow Jackets will go up against Burns in the opening round of the playoffs tonight. The Rebels heading down to Anderson to take on Hanna. Final question I'll ask you, Chris, and this is more of a broad strokes thing. If you look at upstate high school football, obviously Spartanburg County and Gaffney, Cherokee County has usually been the dominant county if you take Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Pickens, Lawrence, etc.
Sure.
The Anderson area, Anderson County in particular, Westside and Hanna for many, many years were not winning programs. They struggled. Last 2 or 3 years, you bring in Scott Early to West Side. Obviously Hanna has decided that they wanted to go out and get some good people, and they got Coach Hollis and now the new fella there. What clicked? What happened in Anderson so that those two high schools decided we're going to make some changes and we want to be competitive, not just locally, but throughout the upstate again?
The commitment to facilities. Anderson County voted to have a 1% sales tax increase, and the lone purpose for that 1% sales tax increase was directly into the athletic budget of the two programs there that are within the city limits of Anderson, with Westside and TL Hanna. They both have incredible facilities with the field turf put in, huge jumbotron scoreboard, updates to sound systems. The field houses look like something that rivals small colleges. I mean, when you walk through the weight room facility that they have at both Westside and Hanna, because they're duplicates of one another, you wonder if you haven't wandered into a small Division I college. It's incredible facilities that they have, and I think because of the money that was poured into that, it created a resurgence and a renewal of the kids being excited about it. They're able to get the best athletes from the school that now are wanting to play football, and then you pair that up with the improvement in the coaching staff, and I think that's what's brought about the success for Anderson County.
It's crazy. It's funny what money can do. You can go online and look up head coaches' salaries here in South Carolina because they're public employees, and both the head coaches at Westside and Hanna are getting paid equivalent to what guys are getting paid up here in Spartanburg County. I think they're both over $100,000 now.
That is correct, and it's one of those things that it was a perfect storm of things coming together. There's always been talent there, but when you have the commitment to the facilities and then the commitment to the coaching staff, it really has created a dynamic situation down in the Electric City.
So is it electric now on Friday nights down there?
It has been. It's been amazing to feel the vibe in the town where, depending on which side of town you're driving through or you stop at to eat, depending on what color shirt you're wearing, you can get some chatter that honestly wasn't there a few years ago. It was more of an apathetic type situation.
Chris, great to have you on, sir. Have a good call tonight and have a good call throughout the playoffs if you guys go as deep as I think you might.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Thanks, guys.